Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. Today I'm going to get a chance to do my first aftermarket RX480 review, and I do honestly think that the aftermarket cards are going to be where the 480 is really going to sing, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think AMD really did that good a job on it. I don't know whether they've done that so that the aftermarket cards look that much better, and it's just a way of trying to make us, you know, like trick us into seeing that it was a better card, because there was so much hype beforehand that when the reference card come out, when you looked at the power and stuff, and you know, all that stuff started coming out about the you know, them being being power limited, it was all a bit like, oh. So then when the aftermarket cards come out, it's all a bit like, yay! So it's all a bit of a roller coaster. So I personally am hoping these do really well, and I've been lucky enough to get two, so I can do a Crossfire review right from the start as well, because that was the other thing that AMD have been harping on about so much, was that putting two of these together could give you some really high-end card-beating performance. So it's going to be nice to address that right from the very start as well. So let's just get on with it. Okay, so a quick look around the card. Now the first thing that we can see, and it was the first thing that I was quite surprised about as well, is we do have the RGB backplate, whereas they decided to take this off for the 1060 version. Now the card is actually cheaper than the 1060 version as well, and we've still got this, which it makes it even more confusing, but it doesn't matter because you've got the Strix 480 and we've got all the RGB-ness. Now it does light up all around the back here as well, and down the side and all underneath, which I will show you. Essentially it is the same cooler that you've seen on the 1080, 1070 and the 1060, so it's a really good, really well performing cooler as well. The fans will stop spinning when it's at idle, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of weight to it. It does feel like a really premium high-end card. No tabs down here for Crossfire, because obviously it does it through the PCI Express. Single 8-pin here, just on the end, kind of like chocked in. You can see that there could have been an extra one there as well at some point if you wanted to. Round the back we do have the two 4-pins that you can attach your like case fans to and the like, and the software has been updated so it actually works properly now, so that you can link maybe the front intake of your case, for argument's sake, maybe those, to the GPU temperature. So as your GPU gets warm, the fans turn up. You've also got cases like the some of the NZXT Phantoms and the 810, where they have fans that you can angle up to your graphics card, so you can then plug those directly into here, and this is PWM as well, so that you've got a way to control fans through your graphics card rather than just, you know, linked to the CPU, which is what they are normally. So other than that, there's not really a great deal for us to talk about, but you know, we do need to look at those lights. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're all fully aware of the RGBs on these now. Now you can set them to static, breathing, strobing, which is just a flash, or just for a token gesture. I'll now set them to the colour cycle, just so that you can see all the different colours that they can do, and just keep in mind that you can change these to any static version in between. There are music and GPU temperature versions as well. The GPU temperature, to be honest with you, you never get them to the point where they're going bright red or anything anyway. So we'll just leave you with that. So then, moving on to some performance, the first thing that I will say is make sure you click the link to go through to the Overclock 3D website, like I do in all the videos, so that you can go and see all of the graphs and all of the games. Also, where the graphs are getting quite big now, can be easier for you to pick through them. We will be zooming in on them in the video, but it just means that you'll be able to get the full scope. I think really I need to start thinning them out. And the worst thing about it is what you see isn't even all of them, because we have graphs for every card we've ever tested, which is getting a bit immense at the moment. We don't retest for each review. What we do is we drop them into our old graphs so that we can see how they're doing. Otherwise, if we had to retest every time, we'd never ever get any work done, and you'd get like 2 cards in each review, if that, to be honest with you, with the time scale and the big piles of stuff that we have at the moment. But with the 480s, there was a lot of hoo-ha at the beginning about temperatures, because obviously the reference card was very warm. Johnny 5 is looking after my reference card over there near the villain's chair at the moment. So, temperatures. Single card with the Strix cooler on it. I know it's pretty much like they've used one cooler for everything, but to be honest with you, if it isn't broke, why bother fixing it? So 65 degrees. Now we need to keep in mind that 65 degrees on these, and that's even though they've had the power target wanged up and we've got the overclock on, because these things are power limited. They say it needs to be in the power window, but essentially with the like the percentage bar where you can move the power slider up, that's how you unlock performance on these. With the original reference card, I actually managed to downclock mine to like 1100 megahertz and bump the power slider up and still get the same kind of scores. With these, they've tuned them a lot better. So I did do some power slider testing with these, and we got a few more megahertz out right at the very top end, but that was on an average, and we were talking about a 15 megahertz difference. So the stock clock that you get on these is actually pretty damn good. Now with the reference cards, you did get the ability that you could go in and kind of play with them, for want of a better term. Because you didn't need to overclock them, you only needed to touch the power slider. That was it. With these types of cards that are going to be coming through, they are going to be pre-done for you, and it'll all be opened up. So as far as overclocking is concerned, no, you're probably not going to get any on any of the cards. So all those people that were harping on about the fact that GPU Boost 3 ruined the NVIDIA cards, well, it's pretty much the same with these. Apart from the fact that it's not overclocking it for you, these just come running that quick out the box. Now the average boost on them is just because of the power saving side of things. It's not because they're getting hot or anything like that. It's just because games don't need your graphics card to be running absolute maxi chat the whole time. So you'll get some fluctuations. It's nothing to worry about. It's not throttling because of power. It's not throttling because of heat. It's throttling, well, it is throttling because of power, but in the right way. Not because it's not getting enough, but because it doesn't want to use all of it all the time. There are probably ways that you can go in and hack around with things to just make it screaming, you know, full bore the whole time if you want. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's particularly needed. Anyway, so one card, 65 degrees, whisper quiet. It was lovely. Stick a second card in, they were still whisper quiet, but the top card does end up pulling air off that bottom card. So your temperature goes up from 65 degrees to 76 degrees. The bottom card was around 70, but it was the top card was the warm one, which was the 76 max. And like I said, that's just because it's not getting cool air. It's just because it's breathing all the hot air off of the second card. So to be honest with you, the fact that it's still at a decent temperature, and in the graph, 2 cards are cooler than the original reference. So I'm well happy with that. And the fact that we got a single card, which is, let's face it, is what most of you are going to end up buying, 65 degrees is the number you wanted to hear. And I think that's a pretty good one as well. So we move on to power draw. Again, power draw, you need to remember that the original reference 480, which is on the graph, and it's pulling 288 watts. AMD were playing with this in a very big way, because they basically said that's as much power as you're allowed to draw a card, and then that was the performance that we got. So essentially they I don't want to say they tricked us, but it was kind of manipulated in a way, because none of us really knew at that point in time how the cards worked. So the fact that they were quite literally power limited, and literally, that is a horrible word, but it's bottleneck, because they'd literally gone no, and then it would always perform up to that power limit. Whereas with other cards, because they're much more efficient, you don't generally get that kind of issue. But now, what we've got with these ones, the best way I can put it, and the nicest way I can put it, is you're just going to have to get used to the fact they are going to use a bit more juice. We'll just really what we need to be looking at is the performance that we're going to get from that juice. So these do use more than the reference, but when you look at the reference power draw that we were getting, once you opened it up, it's using less power than the overclock reference card. It's a complicated one. I hope you'll kind of understand it. But anyway, we get 320 watts from one card, and that's the full system. So that's pretty good. Then when we stick the second one in, you're looking at 492 watts. So less than 500 watts on two cards. And when we kind of like put that into perspective, you can see that you've got the 390X above it using over 500 watts for a single card. So that's pretty damn good. And the performance that you're going to see kind of goes pretty well as well. Now, one of the updates we've had to Strike recently has been Time Spy, which is their new direct X12 benchmark. Now, I have been benching this with the last few 1060s that I did. I've done these as well, and you get 4,411 and 7,777 points. Well, I don't think we've really got enough to put these into a graph yet. Maybe the next review that we do of a 480 I will do. We've got the 470s coming up, but I will once I've got 4 or 5 different results in the graph, we'll drop these in. To be honest with you, I'm expecting the Crossfire version, I should say, the Crossfire version of this is blatantly going to go at the top because I haven't tested any real big, massive, like dual core stuff yet. So we'll see where that goes. But the important one, and it's one that you can test at home as well if you've got Strike, what am I on about Strike? 3D Mark, is the 4,411 points for a single card. So test yours. Love to know what how yours is going. Let us know. Underneath you'll see the link to the Overclock 3D website. Come to the forums and let us know. We need really a Time Spy thread so everyone can put theirs in. So there's that result for you, just so that you've got the result there. You will get a proper graph later on. Now we've got the 3D Mark Strike Ultimate. Now the card is really, you've got one at one end and one at the other end. So the graph is enormous. But when we zoom in on the bottom end, what you can see is you've got the 480 Strix. Just above it, you've got the 480 overclock, which was my manual overclock that I did on the reference card, with the fan on 100% and like fans all over the place, trying to keep the poor thing cool. But then just above it, which is the one that we kind of need to focus on really, is the fact that it is in a benchmark just below the 1060. I'm not particularly surprised or worried about that though. But then when we go to the other end of the graph, what we can see is you've got the 486 Crossfire, and then below it you've got a 1080. Below that you've got a 1080. Below that you've got a 1080, and even below that you've got 980 SLI. So at the other end of the graph, it actually did really well. When we move on to Sleeping Dogs, this is another one of those games where, believe it or not, this isn't even all of our results. But we've got the game here that was being tested in 4K, 1440 and 1080. Don't forget you can click the link to go to the Overclock 3D website if you really want to pick through this. But down near the bottom, you can see that we've got the Strix, and it's above the 480 and the 480 overclock, which it does pretty well, but it is quite significantly below even the Founders Edition 1060. When we go up to the Crossfire, it's in the pack with the original Titan X results and things like the 980 ties, but it is below the 1070 even in Crossfire on this one. And to be honest with you, most of the games it's playing around the kind of 1070 kind of area, apart from Last Light. Last Light really liked this. Down the bottom you can see it's above the 1060, it's above the 480, you've got the Strix there, just above it you've got the original reference overclock. But the other end of the graph, it's well in there with the pack of the 1080s. Now the thing that you do need to remember with when you start talking about games and dual cards is the fact it is going to be a bit of give and take. You're not going to just be able to stick a second card in and go in there and smash things like the 1080. The reason for that is it really is going to be game dependent. It will change a lot with drivers, it will change a lot with patches, but it's not the fact that it's too early, it's just the way all dual cards, so we're talking Crossfire and SLI, are going to work. The only good thing that you are going to get from the 480s over the 1060s is the fact that you can get these and smash them in together and not have to worry about multiple explicit cards and, you know, DirectX 12 trying to take over and, you know, do the dual card stuff for you. When we did test Ashes, I will say, is that Ashes of the Singularity, it's got a DirectX 12 mode. Now with the DirectX 11 mode, you couldn't actually enable the two cards, and it didn't utilize the two cards at all, even though we had Crossfire enabled. And when you then went to go into enable it in DirectX 12 mode, you actually then had to, and this is where it gets horribly complicated and boring, but you then had to disable Crossfire to be able to get it to work properly in DirectX 12. It's just the way that that game is at the moment. And I can say that as soon as I disabled Crossfire, it's probably a driver bug or something at the moment, but the whole system just went nuts. It was black screening, it wouldn't do this, it wouldn't open Steam. And the only way that I could actually recover it and get it working normal again was to take the cards out, put an NVIDIA card in so that it sort of sorted the drivers out. Then I took the AMD drivers off, put the cards back in again and reinstalled, and that's what I had to do. So at the moment, if you buy two of these, for the love of, don't turn Crossfire off at the moment. It might have just been something very Ashes linked, but honestly, it was like 30 minutes of my life where I was pulling my hair out, just trying to get it working again so I could get the system, get the system working again so I could crack on with it. So when we move on to a conclusion, and this is normally the point when I do that, and that's just because it helps me when I'm doing the editing, because it gives me something to look for when I'm trying to drop the award in. So the Strix. Now we know that we were told that we were going to be getting one of the, like the 480 price was basically, they said it's going to be 250 quid. And the problem is when they say from 250 pounds, everyone thinks all of the cards are going to be 250 quid. And in an ideal world, that would be amazing. But it would also mean that if they fix the price that everyone could send them to, you'd all get pretty generic, boring cards, really. We've always had, and this is the thing where people have to kind of take a little bit of a chill pill, really. You're always going to get a range of cards, a range of prices, and that's cool because that gives us choice. Now the Strix overclock stuff, this is their top end card now. You actually get the dual below, which is a dual fan cooler, which is a bit cheaper. And then below that, they do an even cheaper one still. And there's even two versions of the Strix. You've got the big overclock one at the top end, and then you've got one without an overclock a little bit further down. So there's lots of choice there. So when I tell you that this is going to be £289, some of you are going to absolutely lose your mind about ASUS tax and all that kind of stuff. Now, I get where you're coming from, but to be honest with you, it's getting to the point now where people are moaning about price so much. I understand that, they say about that reference price, but you just got to understand it. And I'm not defending ASUS because, to be honest with you, you're going to get that from MSI as well. You're going to get higher clocked cards from other people. The only thing I will say is when they do stuff like this, it does mean that the prices that hover around that £250, £260 mark, that's going to be the incentive for a lot of you to go somewhere else. And if that's what you want to do, that's also totally cool because there are a lot of other cards. So the one thing I can say is if you're worried about price, go and have a look at the other cards. That's cool. You're allowed. Do you know what I mean? It's not a big deal. But if you want the Strix, that's just how much it's going to cost. One thing I will say though is we are going to be doing a lot of other cards as well. I've got piles of them here. It literally is just a matter of time for me to test them and get everything done and spend a day making videos and all that sort of stuff. So I'm working as quick as I possibly can do to bring you a whole range of stuff. But with the Strix, to be honest with you, I would say it's it's got to be like an enthusiast thing, because sometimes you do just want, and there are going to be those of you out there that are going to want the big card with the big cooler, because it does look expensive. It does look like their version of the 1070. So it looks like an expensive card. It's built like an expensive card as well, because you've got some serious weight to it. The back plate, the light up back plate as well, which you didn't get on the 1060, which I think is nuts. But you got it on this. So with a cheaper card, you actually get all the stuff that the 1060 didn't. I haven't got a clue why. I don't understand. You get the back plate, you get the colours, you get a good cooler. To be honest with you, the PCB is totally, I'm not going to say it's as over-spec'd as the 1070, but it does mean that you're going to get some solid use out of the 480 chip that's on there, and not have to worry about it, you know, like blowing up or anything like that, you know, through pulling too much power through the PCI Express lanes or anything like that. You get what I'm trying to say. So, enthusiast level. Now, when it comes to the two, putting the two together, let's face it, it does look $1 million. Now, the thing that we do need to bear in mind with this is one 1080 Strix is costing, you know, around the £700 mark at the moment. The fact that you can't really get the really quick chips, and Nvidia are kind of drip feed and everything, is hard keeping that price high. The second that they come into the country, they're all sold straight away. With these, you can end up saving some money, but the thing is in the benchmarks is consistently kind of 1080. But with the games, you have to realise that you're going to be around the 1070, maybe above mark, with most of the games and stuff like that. The other thing that you do have to remember with dual cards is some games are going to absolutely love it, other games might not. So really, when you do put two in, you're going to get really, really strong benchmark scores. But you know, like I said, it's going to be hit and miss with the games. So you're just going to have to learn to put up with that. But it's no different than it has been anywhere else with any other launch from any other vendor, whether it had been green or red. So it's just one of those things that it's just. But two cards always look sexy. It looks lush. And I actually like the fact that you can actually see the two logos lit up in there as well. Power supply wise, we're running it on 1000 watt, which is twice what it's actually pulling from the wall at max. It's kind of a nice sweet spot, yes. But I would say from a personal point of view, if you get yourself a decent 750 or 850, then you're going to be absolutely laughing. The single card, honestly, 500, 550 watts, you'll be absolutely fine with headroom. Don't forget that I'm running a 2011 socket here with like a water cooler and loads of fans. So 500, 550 watts, but it's got to be a quality power supply from one of the vendors. And I'm not talking about one of the super cheap ones either. I'm talking about getting yourself a decent gold rated power supply, or if you can afford a bit better, then cool. You need to remember that really the power supply is like the heart of your system, and if that goes wrong, it can take every other component with it. So the power supply isn't something that you should skimp on. Most definitely not when you're talking about putting two cards in or something like that. So, you know, I'm using a Corsair one here. We could be talking about a Super Flower. We could be talking about a Seasonic. Just get one of the good ones, and don't think that, you know, because it's one of the lower end ones, even one of the lower end ones from Corsair, I would say, try and bump it up a little bit. Same with Seasonic, same with the others. They would be, that would be my advice. Anyway, so it's my first aftermarket 480. I'm quite lucky that I got to do you a Crossfire right from the very beginning as well. This is going to make life, actually, I think, kind of interesting when we start doing the other cards later. So you might be moaning that I've done the ASUS one first, but it does mean when we do the, as I've got, the Sapphire Nitro Plus Overclock and the Power Color Devil, I've already got results in the graph for us to compare them to. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan recording on a Sunday because I love making reviews for you out. Oh, hang on a minute. Ding! People always moan if I don't do the ding. And it helps if I turn my remote the right way round as well.